As promised, we are here today, and I'm happy to have a young man, Elijah Diaz. Joshua Elijah Diaz, but he prefers to be called by Elijah.
Elijah, yes.
Correct? Now, a young man, this is the future. Actually, the present, because it's running now. But this is the new generation of politicians, new mindsets, new vision, new everything that are going to bring us an up way of seeing the political and the situation that is going on.
Yes, sir.
Elijah, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for coming all the way from Brooklyn. Please look at the camera, introduce yourself, tell us what you're doing, why you're doing it.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Elijah Diaz and I'm the Republican conservative nominee for City Council in District 45. That's in Brooklyn, with the areas Midwood, Flatbush, East Flatbush, parts of Kensington, Marine Park, Flatlands, and Canarsie. And I'm part of leadership of the New Era. It's a political movement that I've began as part of my campaign, and I really want to change the dynamic. And you introduced me as a politician. I typically don't see it or say it that way. I don't say that I'm this typical line of politicians, no Eric Adams, Andrew Cuomo, Kathy Hochul, all these lifelong politicians. I'm more so the new generation of common sense values and just fighting for people, fighting for normalcy in our government and transparency in our government. So that's who I am, and that's who I will continue to be until November.
But Elijah, how you say it?
Elijah.
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 The thing is not how you see it, is how we see you. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, you are not going to vote for yourself.
Yep.
It's how the people are going to vote. So you and all the others, you guys can call yourself whatever way you want it. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can brand yourself in whatever way you want it, but we look at you guys as politicians. Now, sometimes the perspective, the philosophy behind why you're running is different than others.
Right.
You might run for the people because you see things differently. Others might be running for themselves, for their own personal interest.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, look, Joshua Elijah Diaz, biblical name. Mm-hmm. I would assume you are a religious person. Or am I wrong?
Yes, I believe in God very much.
I believe in God too, but I don't believe in organized religion.
Okay.
So do you believe in an organized religion?
I believe that everybody has the ability to relate with God in the way that they choose to. I do believe in organized religion. However, for people who don't, like yourself, I respect that as well. I think it's just getting to maintain a relationship with a higher power.
Who created us?
Who created us, right.
Now, Elijah, I'm sure that you just didn't wake up one morning and said, I'm running. Mm-hmm. Okay? You are running for a reason.
Yes.
I believe that you believe that you are the change that the people need.
Yes.
I believe that you think that you are it in the sense of bringing the new vision. Otherwise, you wouldn't be running. Mm-hmm. So tell us about your philosophy. Tell us about your platform. Tell us about why should I think Elijah is the person.
Yeah, well, I'm a blend of new school and old school. I typically hold values that are considered technically conservative. However, it's no different than the old school moderate Democrat. And that's why it's important, because in a time of radicalization of party lines, Republican, Democrat, you don't have too many people in the middle. They're considered independents, or, New York City considers them blanks. But that's typically around what I'm at. I like to make my own decisions or my own thought processes about issues, and I'm not really aligned with party agendas or with values that are not helpful to the people, that are basically propagated by the media.
Elijah, I like your answer, because I look at myself and I'm a little confused sometimes. About one thing in specifically, but between us, I'm confused about many things. Mm-hmm. Okay, and one of the things is politically. Okay, sometimes I call myself a liberal, mm-hmm. and sometimes I think that I'm a conservative, because I have I can see both sides, and I can say, look, I can see myself there, but I also can see myself here. Just like we just spoke about religion. Yeah, you believe in God,
Yes.
but you also accept those that believe in God but don't follow organized religion. So you can see both sides of the coin, correct? But let's talk about the pudding. What is the difference between you and your opposition, you and the others? Because you can be conservative, but have an open mind, with the conservative principles, and you can be extremely liberal. Well, you have no lines.
Yeah.
So explain.
Yeah, I mean, my personal values are my own. That's first and foremost. I'm going to continue down a path that aligns with my values. However, if it comes to a situation, let's say I win this city council race, it's my job to be neutral. And that is to advocate for the majority and to be a voice for the majority. Despite my personal values, I'm able to kind of set that aside and say, hey, listen, if the majority is saying this and this is their needs, no matter whether it's considered conservative or liberal, it's my job to stay there and be that voice. So that's pretty much where the line stays is, I'm conservative for myself, and I believe that conservative values, and I'm sure we'll get deeper into that, what it is. But as far as that's concerned, I'm going to continue until other people tell me, or the majority tells me, hey, listen, we want to do it another way.
Elijah, I think that we are going to end this interview now, because I'm liking what you say, and before this interview is over, I'm going to flip into the conservative line. and the reason I say that is because I like what you're saying. I like that you say, look, I might be a conservative person, but I'm not there to represent my beliefs. If I am elected, I'm there to represent your beliefs.
Right.
You're there to represent what the people want you to represent. You want to defend the interests of the people.
That's correct.
Something that is very much, lacking in a lot of what we call the politicians. They're there to represent their own interests, or maybe the interests of those that donated big time for whatever campaign they had.
Yep.
You agree with that statement, or would you like to change anything?
No, I definitely agree with that statement.
So now let's talk about what is your conservative line. What is it that you're very fixed on? This is how I see it. Let's talk about the differences, because when it comes to that day that I'm going to cast that vote, is what can Elijah do for us, for the people? What can you do for them?
Well, what I'm prepared to do is change the dynamic and do things unorthodox. I would say this is a new era where I'm a 23-year-old candidate, and the next youngest this year, I believe, is 33, and Zoran Mamdani. But it's going to be very different from the original dynamic where you have to go through the bureaucratic process. I'm not focused on getting things done in a bureaucratic nature. I'm done with getting things, fixed for what I can do and what I have the power to do with my own two hands. I'm not the kind of leader that goes and says, hey, point the finger, hey, clean this, do that, if I can't do that with my own two hands. So I'm prepared to change a lot of things in public safety, a lot of things in education, small business. Those are my big platforms. And those are kind of an umbrella, and it goes into different other perspectives of cleaning our streets, of educating the people outside of the bureaucratic collegiate system. It goes beyond just making money on a 9-to-5 job when people can start their own businesses, start their own nonprofits, or what have you. So that's what I'm prepared to do as your city councilman, and really change things specifically and do it the right way.
Now, Elijah, it comes down to what the people want, right? They make their decision. Maybe a month ago, we had a result of the primary in New York City that most people did not expect.
Yes.
Okay? I want to create a parallel between him and you.
Okay.
Because the way that we advertised this interview was you were the opposition. You read it, right?
Yes, I did.
You read it.
I did.
Are you the opposition?
It depends. Politically, I am the opposition. However, in a social setting, I don't believe that there's too many differences in the way that we market ourselves to our respective audiences.
Free buses in Brooklyn too, if you are
No,
elected?
absolutely not.
You sure?
Absolutely not.
No free things?
Only free to those who absolutely need it.
You see, I keep telling you, we need to stop the interview because I can start feeling that I'm about to flip. I agree, okay? I have no problem with free buses. I have no problem with free services as long as you can really prove that you have the needs for those services. If you are a handicapped person, if you are an elderly person who has a fixed income, you cannot afford it, and you're able to prove that you can afford it, in my view, there is no issues with free buses or free service. What about your vision? When would be okay to give free buses and free services?
Well, listen, I think we need to take a look at the ridership. The ridership in New York City, although it's high, there are so many cars that still you can't find parking for an hour or two when you go through the outer boroughs, especially in Manhattan, of all places. I think maybe even Manhattan would be a better place for free buses, quote unquote. But there's multiple ways of transportation around our city, and free buses doesn't solve all of that. It doesn't solve the traffic problem. It doesn't solve trying to find a parking. It doesn't solve different ways of transportation that may or may not work for other people. For, let's see, people with ADA, people that are in a wheelchair or they can't walk very well. That may be a better option since maybe they can't drive a car. Maybe they can't walk a certain place. Maybe they can't bike. But the majority of people, even though that already is an option, I'm not saying that, buses shouldn't be a thing. But I'm saying that there are so many different transportation options that haven't been addressed yet. So free buses is not the first place that I personally would start.
In Brooklyn, I very rarely go to Brooklyn, but I believe that Brooklyn and every place in the United States have a common problem that we all have, the homeless issue. How is the homeless problem in Brooklyn? And how would you plan to tackle that problem?
Well, the homelessness, even in my immediate area, I can count 5 people that I know on a first name basis that are homeless, and they've been homeless for at least 2 years now. I think this is a problem that I'm going to need support on. It's not like I have a one-size-fits-all solution to the problem. However, I do have the empathy to feel for that person. A lot of times you see New Yorkers, very thick-skinned, they're homeless, that's their problem, they made those choices. I have that empathy for people and to actually help people and get them out of that situation. So that's something that I need support on. However, I do believe that with all the vacancies, both residential and commercial, we have the space and we have the means to get these people off of the streets. Putting them into a shelter is not a good scenario from what I've spoken to about people who have actually lived in the shelters. They say that it's a very dangerous situation. It's a very complex issue. Sometimes you can't even get the housing if you don't come by a certain time. And so, I don't have a specific plan to combat homelessness. I think that's something that I would have to address when I get into the council. However, that's definitely one of my goals for my district.
But it is important to understand the problem. In order to look for the solution.
Yes.
Okay, I look at our problems here in the city of Yonkers with the homeless. Even though there is lots of homeless in Yonkers, the homeless problem is not a Yonkers problem, it's a county problem. County is supposed to find that solution. The other aspect of it is that sometimes just finding housing or shelter is not the solution. We need to find a support system around the housing and shelter in order to keep them off. And the other problem is shelter sometimes is more dangerous, at least to some people that I know and I speak with them. They prefer to sleep outside in a bus stop than actually go into a shelter.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Okay, I don't know if the same applies to Brooklyn, but it's a problem to all of us.
Yeah.
Something that we can all see that is going on everywhere in United States. And I'm sure Brooklyn has experienced that same problem.
Yeah, for sure.
Immigrants, raids, the migrant raids by ICE. How do you see that problem? How would you face that problem if you were elected?
Well, first and foremost, it's not really a problem that would be in my control to solve. However, I would be a strong advocate in that problem. Now, it's twofold. I think there's a failure in the immigration system in this country. I can't pinpoint exactly what it is, but people come here for asylum and then the lines get blurred. There's a clear difference between immigration and asylum. Asylum is for people who are coming here from a dangerous situation. You know, you have people from the Congo that are facing an oppressive government, and they come to the United States for an opportunity for a better life. Same may go for Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, wherever the situation may be. And in that scenario, I would have the empathy to say that let's let these people in, let's have them come here, assuming they have a clear criminal record or a clear civil record, and have them come here and assimilate to the American way of life and, let them be themselves. But the opposite end of that is we have an illegal immigration crisis where people are just walking across the borders and we have no idea where they're coming from. People want to scream and cry in the streets and say, oh, ICE raids, ICE is this, ICE is that, Trump is that. However, they won't let them come into their neighborhoods. They won't let them come into their stores. They won't let them come into their homes. So how are we gonna, scream and cry for immigration, illegal immigration? I'm very pro immigration. However, not in an illegal fashion. You can't do that. You can't walk into Russia. You can't walk into Mexico. You can't walk into almost any other nation in this world. Why should the United States be any different?
I don't think that anyone debates that point. You tell me that, well, that's not a problem for me to solve if I am elected council person. But it is, in a way. As you see, the person who's running for mayor in New York City, one of the big problems is that it's going to make New York City a sanctuary city. Local laws can change in order to block federal enforcement. That's what I was talking about. How would you face that? Would you vote for a sanctuary city in Brooklyn? Would you change anything different from status quo, what it is today? And the other aspect of it is no one, at least I would say 90% of the people, don't think that we should have the borders open. Come on in, no screening, just come in, go to whatever city. That's not what we are saying. At least that's not what I am saying. We need a control. We need border control. We need to see who comes in, just like you look at your home. You see who's coming in. And if it's somebody that you don't want, you lock those doors. But laws say as long as you come through the point of entry, you go and you apply, and then you get that stamp, come in, then you are legal. You might be subject to a non-approval at the end of the application and investigation, but you came in legally because you came through a port of entry. Very different than walking through the border to a different point in the border. Do we agree on that?
Yeah, 1000%. We're in agreement on that.
Education and crime in Brooklyn. How is crime in Brooklyn? And who is doing that crime? Teenagers, adults, who is doing the crime in Brooklyn?
Well, I think it's obviously a mix, but I think the youth is actually starting to create the crime in New York City. It's all across in Brooklyn. You have different parts of Brooklyn that are worse than others for different crimes. You know, in my area in District 45, grand larceny is actually the number one reporting in the precincts, both the 63rd and the 70th precinct. But you know, you go to somewhere like South Brooklyn, it may be assault, it may be murder, it may be burglaries, and it's really a telltale sign that we're failing as a system. And you know, I know the reporting says differently. There's been scrutiny on under the Eric Adams administration that they're misreporting a lot of things. However,
reclassification of crimes also.
Right, but I think if you really live the streets and you live that lifestyle, you see that it's really the kids that are being taught the wrong things, and a society that romanticizes crime in music, in theater, in TV shows. You're having a society that is on its way towards failure and towards an unsafe, Sodom and Gomorrah type situation.
I kind of agree with you in a little bit. So when I hear, well, that's the invoice for the democratic government that we choose, do you think this has anything to do with Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, or it's the mindset? The youth, how they are raised, the lack of morals, maybe the lack of parenting. What do you think is the problem, and how can we address those things according to you?
Well, I think it's the media. I wouldn't say we can blame a specific political party, because I have people that would agree and disagree on both sides that I can think of off the top of my head. It's a mixture of not being active in our children's lives, not being active in our neighbors' lives. We've lost that sense of neighborly community in Brooklyn and all across the city, all across New York State. People are in it for themselves. So at the end of the day, if your neighbor goes and gets killed, most people would just say, hey, that's not my business, that has nothing to do with me. We've lost that sense of empathy for our neighbors and loving thy neighbor. And that's something that we need to get back into, and it's through education. It's through actually putting forth the effort. It's not a systematic thing. It's not your government that can tell you what to do. It has to change within you.
Let's talk about something that it's connected to the crime. I see arrests being made here and mostly in New York State. The crime happens everywhere, regardless if it's a Republican state or Democrat state.
Yeah.
Crime is everywhere. But one of the problems in democratic states is bail reform. Okay, you get arrested in the morning, before the day is over, you're already out.
Yeah.
And chances are, by the end of the day, you have time to be arrested again under a similar circumstances.
Yep.
So how do you see bail reform? Is bail reform good, or is bail reform bad? Should it be tweaked? I agree with bail reform. I don't agree with the way it stands. I think a few things need to be changed, but I agree with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Years ago, I don't know if you are old enough to remember this, but if you committed a crime, regardless of that crime, but you had money in your bank account, you will be out before the day was over.
Yeah.
But if you stole a bread of loaf in a supermarket, but you didn't have $50 to put you out on bail, you would stay there until trial. So how do you see bail reform?
Well, I've heard both sides of the argument. I personally don't like bail reform. I think it's again, I see it more so from the radical standpoint that you have criminals that are committing crimes, and these are high-level crimes, even high-level misdemeanors to felonies. I see it from that perspective, that we have dangerous people that are coming in and out of jail with no remorse and no sense of accountability. So in that sense, I haven't really seen a point where it's like, okay, yeah, bail reform kind of makes sense, and that's just from my experience of what I've seen. But, in a sense where I understand there was formerly racial inequality that had to do with that. If you didn't have the funds, you can't get out, but if you do have the funds, you can go wherever, and it would disproportionately affect Black and Hispanic minorities. However, I think it needs to be tweaked. If we're going to have a bail reform system, it definitely needs tweaking 1,000%. Right now, as it stands, in the radical sense that I see it to be, I'm completely against it, and I would vote to abolish it.
So then we are in agreement, but at the same time you are in disagreement.
Yes.
So personally, I think depends on the crime. Give the judicial system the flexibility to decide when should bail reform be applied in that specific case or not. Of course, if you go and kill somebody, it's a violent crime.
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't be out.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you committed a crime, first crime or second crime, because look, you have a little brother at home who doesn't have milk and you had to bring some milk home.
Yes.
I'm not saying go and steal it. There is other alternatives, but we should put things on a balance.
Yeah, 1,000%.
And decide.
1,000%.
Does he deserve bail reform? Does he deserve a second chance or not?
Yes, yes, of course he deserves a second chance.
I don't think none of us are saying, look, if he's a violent criminal, let him out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just because it's his first crime. No,
Yeah.
measure the crime.
But it's also been politicized as well. I believe that, again, I'm seeing it from a radical perspective in New York City, where it goes for anybody. If it goes for one, it goes for anybody. I'm completely against that. And if we can change that system, then I would definitely support something like that.
Now, lots of us go on social media. We talk about issues, we complain, we try to convince others who is the right person for the job. You know, I'm going to vote for this, I'm going to vote for that. There is nothing wrong with social media as long as you're on Yonkers Voice. Okay? So, now jokes aside, there's nothing wrong with social media.
Yeah.
But we need to do more than just talk about it. And I don't know about Brooklyn, but I know here on this side, we talk about it, but when voting time comes, we don't go out and vote. Do you have the same problem in Brooklyn?
Absolutely. We have just about an average of 9 to 12% of people who come out and vote
That's nothing.
in my district.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the importance of voting, Elijah. So let's communicate this message to the people. It's okay to disagree as long as it's done with respect.
Yes.
Okay. Articulate your point of views in whatever way you want it, meaning politically, politely, respectfully. But the most important thing is come out and cast that vote.
Yeah.
Articulate it with your own words, Elijah.
Yeah, I believe that if you're a person that lost faith in the system, you have every right to feel that way. And I felt that way as well. And when I started getting involved in politics, you know, back when I was in college, I actually went to school not too far from here, studied journalism, and that's how I got involved, you know, looking into politics. But if you've felt that way, I'd say do your own research, do your own thinking, and go around circles that actually know what's going on. And that is going to get you to the next level where maybe you may be able to run for office. I'm 23 years old and I'm running for office because it's the right thing to do, because I have the right principles that I want to help the people. A lot of these politicians don't have that same feeling in their heart. And you know, even across the races, the city council, the mayor's race, maybe next year for even governor, I don't believe that any of these people have the real will. You know, the career politicians, I'm saying, I know a lot of great candidates, but these people don't have the will to do for the people. You know, and it hurts the candidates like myself who actually do want to. So you really need to take a look into it. It's a civic duty, if you're an American citizen, to get involved in politics and at least have a basic knowledge of what's going on around you and what actually affects you politically, because it's inevitable. Whether you want to be willfully ignorant and pretend it doesn't exist, or you want to get involved in it to the maximum capacity, it's going to affect you either way. So I think definitely getting your children involved, your sister, your cousin, your brother, your uncle, your dad, anybody that you can talk to about politics and have a civil conversation about it, that's going to be important to get involved.
Elijah, if we look at society, we can see that things have changed. The dynamic of things have changed.
Yes.
Years back, every single senior came out and voted. They couldn't wait for elections to come out and vote and make that decision. Nowadays, we are seeing something a little different. We are seeing that the youth, college students, university students coming out and casting that vote. And that's what caused that big
upset
not long ago.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what caused that. No one expected that. Okay, we used to think larger that bank account is, we got it. Things are changing. Now it's the university students, college students coming out and vote. Talk to them.
Oh man, that's a good question. I'm a little bit stumped because I think that's a dangerous scenario.
Hey.
Right now, if I'm talking to college students, I would say, don't believe what the media has told you, and really, again, do your own research and educate yourself, because a lot of universities are breeding left-wing propaganda. And what I say to that is the media basically tells you what to believe in, what to think, and who the good and bad guy is. And of course, those who are running the show are not going to work against themselves. So you have to think about it from your perspective. Hey, what benefits me? What benefits my people? What benefits the people around me? And not just listening to the first thing that you say. Because I believe that the youth right now, especially in universities, they're getting very passionate. Again, Zoran Mamdani. I keep having to bring this guy's name up more than I want to, but he's a candidate in this race, and he may very well be the next mayor of New York City.
Do you think he is a communist, as he's been labeled?
I mean, I think he's self-labeled that through his own means. I mean, he's a socialist. Socialism and
communism are two different things. From a socialism to communism, it's a transition that takes at least 100 years. But there is a beginning. Do you think that that's what he's trying to do?
Yeah, looking into those policies, looking into his past speeches and what he's made himself to be, what he's branded himself to be, I think he's on that path. With social media, you said it takes 100 years, but I think it's going to happen a lot faster than that, especially when you have people who are fed up and who want change so desperately that they're willing to go to the extreme amounts just to get that change, just to get that little bit of, hey, I feel represented in this government. And that's the dangerous part of it. And with social media, I think that can take place within the next 10 to 25 years rather than 100.
Social media became extremely powerful tool in our society. Before we go further, I almost forgot. Do you know where we at today, Elijah?
We're in Yonkers, Dos Marias.
Dos Marias. Dos Marias is the best Mexican restaurant, not just in Yonkers, Brooklyn too. This
Really?
is it. This is the best Mexican restaurant in Yonkers, Westchester County, New York State, and perhaps the world. The only place you can eat better Mexican food, it's at home with your Mexican mama. If it's not at home with your Mexican mama, parent, sister, Dos Marias at 200 New Main Street in Yonkers is the place to go. You see, I have my friend behind the camera, Prince. He's saying, are we eating here today? Are we eating? No, we're not, Prince. No, we are not eating here today.
Hey, unless we got any Mexican mamas that are cooking and they're inviting us.
We do.
I'll be out there.
We do have.
We do?
There is a beautiful cook downstairs.
Oh, I think we got to end this interview.
There you go. We have an awesome cook. This is the greatest Mexican place in Yonkers and all around it. Very famous, 2 floors. We have Taco Tuesday. Prince like me to say taco with the English accent. Taco. Okay. Taco Tuesdays. Okay. Very inexpensive. You can come mix and mingle. Elijah, make new friends. Have a great time. If you like to sing, karaoke, this is the place to come. But remember, this is not exclusively for the people of Yonkers. If you are in Brooklyn, and on a weekend, you want to go and visit someplace else. Just like if you're in Yonkers and you want to visit someplace else on a weekend, take a ride to Brooklyn. If you are in Brooklyn, take a ride to Yonkers. Come and visit new places. Great place to come. What else we need to talk about, Elijah? What else is important to you? This is your interview. We are exposing your platform. As I always tell people, look, I'm inclined to the liberal side, but I have many things that I see on a conservative side. So I'm a mixed, okay? But Yonkers Voice is not about me.
Yeah.
It's not about my view. It's not about my political inclination. This is about the people. We have lots of followers in New York City and Brooklyn that follow Yonkers Voice to know what's going on in New York State. So I try to stay away from the political arena, except about one particular person that I'm not going to mention his name on this interview. Okay, but
I think we know.
okay, but in anything else, it's about the people. I give everyone the same opportunity. Come and speak to the people. It's up to them. They decide who should represent them. I don't care who they vote for. I care about the country, of course. But I try not to say, okay, vote for this one or vote for that one. We've been doing this for the last close to 20 years. I have never endorsed one single candidate. And I have interviewed candidates from all different political sides. It's up to the people. I hope that I was clear with that. I invited you. I hope that you felt comfortable coming here.
For sure, yeah.
And you felt that this was a fair interview.
Yeah. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to even be on the show and that we can have a conversation, have that disagreement. But I think, we agreed on a lot more than,
Elijah,
we would have thought.
To be honest, I don't think we disagree in anything.
Yeah,
okay? Like I said, I am liberal, but I can see things from your side of the lands. And lots of the things that I seen it, I heard it, I agree with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't disagree much. So guys, if you are, let me see if we have any questions coming. Give me 1 second. When is the election time for Brooklyn?
November
I think that's
4th.
an important.
Yeah, November 4th is election day.
So you are on a general election?
Yes, I'm on the general election, I assume row B and C, the Republican and Conservative ballot.
So let's say it again, Elijah, so people see it. Do you have any of that content you need to show?
Yeah, I do. You're showing it right there.
Are you on social media so people can go to your site, read about you, contact you, talk to you? Go ahead.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram or X at Diaz for Brooklyn, Diaz for FOR Brooklyn. You can find me on Facebook. You can also find me at diazforcitycouncil.com.
Elijah, elections, campaigns are expensive.
Yes.
Okay, a lot of people out there, they see campaigns, but they don't have concept of the work behind the campaign. They don't have concept of how expensive that is. If somebody wants to donate to your campaign, to help you out with your platform, where can they go to donate to help you out?
Yeah, you can look up on Google. It's contribute.nycvotes.org, I believe. But also, if you visit my website, Diaz for City Council, I do have a contribute link. It says contribute right on it, and it'll link you directly to that platform.
So guys, if Mr. Elijah Diaz is the person for you, if he's the person that is more in line with your views, let's also keep in mind that no candidate is 100% in line, at least with my views, but there is some candidates that are more in line than others.
Yeah.
So if Mr. Diaz is the one that it's more in line with your views, and if you think that the new generation needs and deserves a chance to take us to the next step, the next stage, don't forget, November is the day to make that choice, to make that decision. Just talking on social media, unless you are on Yonkers Voice, it does not matter. Okay, you need to come out and you need to vote. You need to make your voice heard, and how you do that? By voting. Okay, not by rioting, not by causing problems, not by violent means. respect the laws. You feel like disagreeing, that's okay to disagree, but within the laws, within the system. November 4th, you said?
November 4th, yes.
November 4th is the day.
Yep.
We are going to conclude. I'm going to give Mr. Diaz the opportunity to do the closing. I thank every single one of you for watching. I appreciate your support. And remember, Yonkers Voice is not my voice. Yonkers Voice is the platform where your voice can be heard and where we connect you, the audience, with those that are seeking elected position or those that have something of importance, something that the community needs to know. So this is not about me, this is about you. One last thing that I need to say, I'm sorry to talk too much, is guys, remember, our job on Yonkers Voice is to report the news. We create topics for conversation, for engagement. Our focus in Yonkers, but that does not mean that everything we put out must be about Yonkers. No different than New York Post. Not everything that goes on the New York Post is about New York.
Yeah.
Not everything that goes on Washington Post is about Washington. Those are news outlets. We are not a news outlet, we are a conversation outlet where we create topics for conversation. Sometimes the news does not go in line with some families. Sometimes something on the news might be about somebody who is your friend, your family. We apologize for the additional stress that we might cause, but news is news. And the community has the right to know what's going on in the city, community that they live in. Mr. Diaz, look at them, do the closing.
All right. If you've heard anything in this interview that maybe you're still unsure of or something that you may disagree or agree with me on, you can, again, reach me at Diaz for Brooklyn or diazforcitycouncil.com. I've been completely transparent the entire way through. I've engaged in conversations on social media, and I keep my DMs open to anybody who has any questions, who has any comments, and I've been completely transparent. Every 2 weeks, I'm dropping a new platform that I'm on. I've already released, my small business platform. I've already released my education platform. Next is my public safety platform. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with everybody. And if anybody wants to also add to that and be a part of history, please, interact with me on those platforms. God bless you all, and God bless America.
It was a pleasure to have Mr. Diaz here. It's always a pleasure to have you here. The last thing that I will ask for today's interview is please share this interview. Sometimes we put content out there that gets 1 million, 2 million views. Nonsense content, but they're sharing it. It's good for us. But it's more important if you share positive interviews like this. Okay, interviews that can help, interviews that will help inform, that will spread the line. Give me 1 second. Okay, that will spread the line. This is the interviews that we wish and we hope that you will share on your own platforms, spread the word. Thank you for watching. Until next time.